I'd like to introduce Mr. Chuck Joyner.
Thank you,
Hey,
Mike.
Chuck.
Thank you. Thank you. So by this time in the afternoon, a couple problems have arisen. First of all, a lot of the things I have to say have been stolen by other speakers. But the first thing, yeah, really, is Mike and Barry have put this thing together this whole day. I want to ask you to give them a round of applause. There's only one thing to say about them. Here's to the crazy ones. They're the ones that think they can change the world and do. As you probably know by now, I do a little show called Mac Voices, and I did want to do a little quick disclaimer right up front that I'm going to talk about some products that advertise on my show. I'm going to talk about some people that do some things for my show. I'm going to talk about some things that aren't. The only reason that they're being talked about today is because I use them, I like them, I believe in them. That's all. So with that said, today we're going to talk about better living through Apple tech. And I think it's fair to say that everybody here can identify with that a little bit. But in fact, actually, this presentation is a little bit presentation to you. It's a little bit catharsis for me because I need some of this. So how do you define better living? Well, this is how I define it. Bigger, better, faster, cheaper, different. Now, cheaper? Well, cheaper may not happen here, unfortunately, because Apple tech is a little expensive, unless you compare it to the things that you can do with it. If you had to go out and hire these services, had to develop these services, or the ability to do some of these things, it would cost you a lot more than, say, buying your next piece of hardware. So think about cheaper in that way. And the rest of it, you know, I like to be productive. That's one of my mantras, so that I theoretically can have more free time, which I just fill up with doing more stuff. So, first thing you got to have is the right tool. Now, look, guys, please stop trying to take this and replace it with that, okay? And don't replace that with that. And you can't replace that with that, and you're not going to replace that with that. And for crying out loud, don't expect to replace any of this with that, all right? All right? The next person who complains that Microsoft Office does not run on the watch, we have a special place for you at the barbecue this afternoon. So I want to have everything, all my tools, everywhere they can possibly be, or at the very least, all my data everywhere that I want it to be, so it's convenient for me. That said, I think it is very beneficial to adopt standards, and Apple does a pretty good job of this, of giving us standards and opportunities to put our data somewhere and then have it spread across our devices and accessible, not just by their apps, but also by third-party apps, so that you have some choices. The first thing, and this is a big one for me, and a lot of this is just going to be basic stuff, okay, folks, because I know a lot of you do it, but I bet a lot of you don't, or you don't do it like you should. And this drives me crazy. The first thing I want to talk to you about, though, is your calendar, all right, because nothing drives me crazier than people who do not show up on time. They miss meetings, they miss calls, they miss things, and it makes me crazy because not only they're taking up my time, they're also making themselves look bad. So find a calendar, a set of calendar apps that work for you. I like BusyCal from BusyMac. Not because, for any reason, there are a lot of great options out there. This is the one that works for me. This is what my calendar looks like, and it is blurred intentionally to protect the innocent, or the guilty, as the case may be. But I end up having to manage a lot of things. For Mac Voices, I have guest schedules, I have advertising schedules, I have release schedules. Then there's the little day job at the office where you're managing your schedule with appointments, multiple people's calendars, all kinds of things. I can't find a better solution that helps me manage all of this stuff than BusyCal. I try to put everything I possibly can on BusyCal so that I don't forget to have the oil changed in the car, and I don't forget when the vehicle expiration goes out on my car. You know, I try to put everything on there, that way I'm always reminded. So BusyCal for me works on the Mac. It also uses a standard that will sync over to your iPhone, and you can use Apple's calendar there, but I prefer Calendars 5 from Readle Software. Used a lot of different calendar software, and this is the one right now that is my favorite. I have shifted in the past couple months amongst a number of different things, but I really like this because it lets me see the data I want to see the way I want to see it. It lets me get information into my calendar quickly and easily. And again, if it's not easy, if there's friction there, you're not going to use it. So find something that works for you. And of course, again, with the standards, if Calendars 5 doesn't suit me, I can shift to another calendaring app on my iOS devices, open it up, look at my data, not some sample data, but my data, see it right there, decide whether I might like that better or if I still want to stay with what I've got. So this works very, very well. Contacts. Why don't people do a better job with their contacts? Man, this is your life's blood. These are the people that you work with, you earn money from, you connect with in so many different ways. But I guarantee you that there's so many of you that probably don't have your contacts filled out completely. So again, Apple gives us some great contacts applications built in, but there's some better things out there. You may start to sense a theme here. Busy Contacts is mine, and I've bought into the Busy Mac stuff just because it works so well. Busy Contacts, same deal. On my Mac, that's where I go because it does a lot more things than regular calendar. I keep trying to say iCal. It's no longer iCal, it's Calendars. Than Calendars does. At the very least, it integrates with your social network, so it pulls information in, populates the photos, does a fantastic job of this. All right, so that's on the Mac. We're over to the iOS devices. Unfortunately, excuse me, I got ahead. On my iOS devices, honestly, I haven't found anything I like better. I found some, but Apple's Contacts is good enough for me because most of the time, I don't go in manually and search for things. I'll just use the search function on the phone. So that's good enough. If you have suggestions, I'd love to hear them because sooner or later, somebody's going to come out with a killer contacts app for iOS. I just haven't found it yet. So the next one, this is a real pet peeve of mine, your to-dos, right? People that do not have a to-do list of some kind are the people, again, that miss meetings, they show up late, they show up unprepared, and they waste my time, they waste their time, they waste others' times. So find a to-do list that works for you. Now, it'll probably come as no surprise to you that I use BusyCal and Busy To Do. The reason I use these is on BusyCal, I have my to-dos right on the side. So my calendar is always up and I'm seeing my most recent things or my soon-to-be upcoming things that I need to accomplish. I like that. I like that because it's taking up less screen space, it's all in one app, and it's all integrated. Over on the Busy To Do side, we have something that is fairly sophisticated as far as being able to categorize, color, make very attractive, and also jump out at you. But guys, I don't know about you, I don't need Gantt charts in my to-do lists. All right? And there's some great project managers out there, and that's fantastic. But once again, I think they introduce a certain amount of friction. So find something simple. And listen, if you need Gantt charts, great, go for it. That's wonderful. But I think you're going to find something a lot more effective if you just, how many of you still use paper? Don't answer that. I don't want to know. I told you I didn't want to know, John. Because the whole idea, once again, is to have all of this stuff at my command. Now, this afternoon, I've been putting notes, or today, I should say, I've been putting notes into my to-do list because of some of the things presented here. I've been using another application sitting over there, and we'll talk about that in a second, to capture information. But I want that stuff, and I want it now on my iPhone, but then when I go to open up my Mac a little later, it'll be there waiting for me. If I pop my iPad open, it'll be there waiting for me. That's sort of the whole thing. I don't want to replace any of those devices. I want everything to be there as I have them so that it is accessible to me and I can address them. I can do something maybe simple on the plane back home tomorrow night, or maybe I'll get some time tonight at the hotel, probably not. But whichever device I pick up, I want to be able to see what's going on. Okay, so your information. This is a little bit different than some of the things we've been talking about up to this point. Everybody needs a filing cabinet of some kind, a place to aggregate the information that there's little snippets of information back to the paper thing, that maybe the Post-it is sticking on your desk, maybe it's sticking on your monitor, and then the cleaning people come through and your life is destroyed because all that stuff is gone. So find some place that you can aggregate this stuff so that it becomes the first place that you go to look for that piece of information. That airline code. That airline code, whatever it is that you need to do. That place for me is Evernote. And I'm only a recent Evernote convert. I've played with a lot of things and none of them really fit. And then earlier this year, Evernote sort of clicked and I got it. They have great iOS apps, they have great Mac apps, they have web apps, they're just all over the place. And it's, again, once you get the metaphor, it becomes very, very easy to set up different notebooks, different notes and notebooks to know where your stuff is and where you can go get it, how you can organize it, how you can find it again. Those are really, really important things. So Evernote across everything. And I think you will be much better organized. I would love to give you a great solution to email, but I haven't found one yet. Somebody said that email died a few years ago. Somebody forgot to tell corporate America, because corporate America still runs on email. God knows the marketing people still run on email, or at least that's an important thing. So find an email cocktail that works for you. Right now for me, I'm using Gmail, and to the dismay of some people, and a service called SaneBox that will sort my incoming mail into different mailboxes so that I can go and find all the newsletters as I subscribe to, all the marketing stuff that comes in. And it also will try to figure out what's important to me. It's not perfect by any means, but it helps a lot and lets me get through. I'm still struggling with the amount of volume of email that comes in because I try to respond, and then I take a couple days off, like coming to this event, and I spend the next 2 or 3 weeks trying to catch up, it seems. And God forbid if I go away for a week. That's a whole nother problem. But find an email solution. Apple's Mail, I tell you, some of the stuff we saw that's coming with El Capitan is making me look back. I feel like that may be a good solution for me for some of the features there. I don't know. But right now I've got this one, and it works fairly well. Okay, so the next technology is something that, this is a pretty radical recommendation, okay? It's something that's real time, it's something that's interactive, full duplex, voice recognition. It's called the phone. Okay? Every once in a while, pick up the phone and call. And by all means, if you pick up the phone, even if you get voicemail, learn to leave a good voicemail. The number of voicemails that you get that are just long and rambling and worthless, you know, I want to, hi, my name's Chuck Joyner. I'm trying to reach Joe Smith. Please call me back at 717-795. Again, 717-795. Thank you. That's all you got to do, instead of this long, rambling thing. And please, in the days of cell phone and our wonderful cell phone coverage, say your number twice. There's nothing more frustrating than hearing 795, 795, and now I've got to start dialing numbers randomly to see, how many people I can annoy before I hit the right one. Pick up the phone. It distinguishes you. In a world that's gotten away from this, it distinguishes you and how much you care about the person maybe you're calling. And on a Father's Day weekend, sorry. Really important. So how do I know all of these things are going to improve your lives? Well, they're all time tested. Think about everything I just talked about. Contacts, calendar, phone calls, filing cabinets. All of us have used those for years. And even for the younger members of the audience who have not used them for years, those are going to be very, very basic tools. That's it. They all work. But we live in the 21st century, and I'm really happy we live in the 21st century. There's some things that we need to adopt as well as those basic tools to move us forward. So, the first one, Siri. Siri is becoming more and more important in our lives. Voice recognition is becoming more and more important in our lives. Now we've got an amazing device right on our wrists that seems to work actually better than the phone. I don't know why, but it does. If you learn to talk to Siri, in fact, I learned something earlier today. We were talking about it before the show started. If you just say, hey Siri, I better be careful. I'm about to trigger all your phones, sorry. Actually, I think I just did, oops. So hey, I'm hungry, and it'll show me a list of places around me to get something to eat. I am constantly in the car all the time thinking of things and tell Siri, put this on my to-do list, put this on my calendar, remind me to do this, pick up that, call so-and-so. It's just, if you're not using Siri, if you're not paying attention to Siri and doing more with it than you are now, then you're falling behind, because this is something that's just going to become more and more important. You've heard a lot about 1Password today. Please, if you don't use 1Password, I know you've been hearing a lot about password managers getting hacked and everything, and my theory personally is that if somebody wants to break into your house, they can break in. They're going to get in one way or another. You can't keep them out. I think the same thing is going to be true with your passwords. The whole idea here, though, is to improve your odds. And you're a lot less likely to get hit if you have a 50-character password or even a 25-character password than a 5 or 10-character password. So if you're not using a password manager of some kind, please start this afternoon. If you don't do anything else, do that. And my choice is 1Password. Social media. Social media is so important right now. I can't believe how important it's become for me personally and in business. These are the ones that I feel like I have to be on. I want to be on Twitter. I think Twitter's my favorite way to communicate with people. I have to be on LinkedIn because it's a professional network, and if you're not, when people go searching for you professionally, they're not going to find you. I'm being forced onto Facebook. Because I don't think you can ignore Facebook. Facebook is still the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, just find a way to get on there. Don't post the things that you're not comfortable with. I get it. You're not, I'm not comfortable with having everything shared. So I'm very careful about what I share where, but especially on Facebook because of their privacy policies. Point well taken. Some of my closest friends are in this room. Some of my closest friends don't live in my neighborhood, in my city, in my state, in some cases not even my country. But I know more about what's going on in their lives than I do about the guy that lives right beside me because of social media. So if this is something you're not taking advantage of or you're not paying attention to, it's time you do. It's time you do. I don't think you abandon everything else, but get on there. So, finally, Mike sent out an interesting thing. He did a little write-up on each speaker before the show, and one of the questions he asked was, what software would you recommend? I think Text Expander is something that everybody in this room can use, and use easily with such a small learning curve. We all repeat things. I promise you, there are things you repeat that you don't know you repeat. That used to be kind of the one problem with Text Expander. You had to really think about, okay, I know obviously I repeat my email signature. I know I repeat my address and my phone number. But what else do I repeat? The new version of Text Expander just kicks it up light years because now it watches everything that you type and suggests things. Reminds you that, hey, you've typed this a bunch of times. Would it make sense to create a snippet for it? And I'm already, first of all, it's teaching me to create new snippets that I really didn't realize before. And second, it's reminding me of old snippets I've already created that I haven't been using because I forgot I created them. So if you want something, Text Expander is the way to go. Keynote, real quickly. Keynote is something, I don't care what you're doing in business, in your personal life, your church, your school, whatever. Learn to do presentations. You're already going to be way ahead if you have Keynote because it's going to make you look better than PowerPoint. I promise you. Take a second. Take more than a second. Take some time and learn the tools you do use. I guarantee you that there are features in there that you can use, would use. You just haven't learned how yet, and that's really important. Evaluate and reevaluate your software. We're all in search of the next big, new, bright, shiny thing, right? But take your basic tools, learn more about them, but absolutely, constantly reevaluate them. See if there is something better coming down the line for you. There very well may be. We live in an amazing world right now that we have so many opportunities to be learned and trained. Here are some great things, great resources. These are just a few, but by all means, check them out and see, because they will help you get more out of the tools you're using. So that's bigger, better, faster, cheaper, different. Hopefully, maybe some of those things will improve your life, hope to make you a little better. One last thing. I'd like to leave you with a piece of advice that I got when I was going off to college a couple years ago, not many. It was given to me by a college president who was president of a college I was not attending. He said, listen to all the advice that your parents give you. Just don't follow all the advice your parents give you. My parents really liked the first part. They weren't too wild about the second part. But I've come to understand how wise that is. Take all the advice you've been given here today, all the things you've heard, take the ones that fit you, but don't try to follow them all. I'm on email, I'm on Twitter. Those are my preferred places. Contact me. Thank you so much.